Oh, are we ready to do this? Hey guys, just getting started here. I've been down here at camp for a few hours now. I don't know how many people I'm going to have show up here at early morning live stream, but we're going to try it and see how it turns out. If you could, please share this out on Twitter, Facebook, any other social media pages that you see fit. Let everybody know that we're live streaming. I'm going to be working on some stuff on the inside of the build here to wrap the live stream series up. We got to frame out the inside of the fireplace and get ready to get it all sealed up, and then we got wood process and stuff like that to do to get the door on. Those are the last two pieces of the Bushcraft build, and then after that it's just detail work. So yeah, it ought to be a lot of fun, but I need to be getting this thing wrapped up. So this is going to be the last set. I'm going to try to do another live stream later this evening, but this is going to be the last set for the live Bushcraft build series. And then everything as far as the development of the shelter after this will happen Friday night at 8 on the regular episode of the Huntsman series. Huntsman series is going to be a little bit broken up between here at camp, going out on hunts, doing some day hikes, doing some night hikes. Been doing a lot of solo overnights with minimal to no gear, and we're capturing all that on film in various different ways. Spending the night out in the woods in 50 degree Fahrenheit or below weather with no survival gear at all and no camp. We just keep moving all night long. So we're doing that on the Friday night episode. That's going to be coming up. We did it last week. We're going to be doing it again this week, but we're going to be doing it a little bit different this week. So here this morning, I've been down here pulling clay out of the creek bank and hauling stone and cutting wood and doing all of the prep work for the live stream, putting everything together to start closing in our fireplace, which is a priority right now. We're going to be doing the inside frame of the fireplace today. That's got to dry some, and that's the problem with the fireplace, building a fireplace with stone and clay, cob kind of mix. You got to let sections of it dry before you can put the next section on, which is very time consuming. But I think we've covered enough with the stonework that you can see here on the build. You can see all of that stonework ingrained into the woodwork. It's all mixed together, it's all blended together. I think we've covered enough of how that process works to give everybody a pretty good idea of what it takes to actually build with stones, whether you're doing an accent wall like this or whether you're adding stone into your chinking so you get that kind of texture to your chinking. Then we went ahead and exposed the wood and got some treatment on the wood walls, which has given it that very unique color, which is a little bit different from what we've seen in the last live stream. Looking inside the door there, you can see our fireplace coming together. We're going to start getting it closed up today, and then we got to tighten up that air vent there at the top a little bit, so we'll be working on that too. Again, very time-consuming processes because you got to let sections of the wall dry before you move on to the next section. That way you just get the structural integrity. Yorkshire, UK. Thanks for stopping by and welcome. We're about to go inside the build here. Just taking a look at the outside and detailing what we've covered in the series so far. For those of you who are new, we have captured this entire build here on the live Bushcraft build series. So from finding the location in the woods to raising the A-frame, every single step of this process has been captured on live streams. Every part of this build has been captured on live streams. I did not have any hand on the build itself unless I was live streaming. So you can go back to the playlist there on the channel and you can see how we did the stonework. You can see how we did the chinking in between the beams and adding in the crushed blue shale to give it that textured front face. Yeah, just every part of this we've captured on the live stream, but winter's coming. The live stream to take up a lot of time because I'm less focused on building and more focused on, you know, entertaining the crowd for 3 or 4 hours at a time. So I did a little bit of detail work here before we started this live stream. I still have a lot of work to do to this build. As you can see, I still have chinking to do above the beam there. I got to get a new beam up there and fill that in a little bit better. There's a lot of detail work that needs to be done, and we're not going to capture that on live streams. Our priority for the live streams is to kind of show off the building process itself. On the side of the structure, of course, we got chinked in beams underneath a grass roof that's cellulose filled plant material, so it's pretty good insulation, and we just put the bark over top of it to pack that down a little bit. The bark does not have to stay on there. It's just to keep the wind from blowing all that off. It is tied down, but the bark is just an extra layer of protection, and it also helps blend the shelter in with the background. So here we have our back wall, which is primarily stone, or stone halfway up, and this is our primary fire reflector for the fireplace. That little bulge you see there is the fireplace. We're going to start closing in the hole there and start running our chimney up well above the structure. The chimney's got to be kind of narrow and rather long. The narrower it is, the more it concentrates the heat on the inside and pulls that smoke out just from the drafting. We'll explain the drafting of a fireplace whenever we get inside of the build. Got some stone out here to work with. We got our ledge, which kind of brings that the fire pit itself closer to the shelter, and I went ahead and I used the blunt end of my axe to cut a half moon out of the stone, and that will be where the chimney meets up with the fire pit itself. So the pit goes a little bit deeper, and then you have this little arch, and right above that arch is where our fireplace goes. Worked into our chinking, we got stones to help hold the fireplace up here. It gives us a ledge to attach to. So that's that. And then of course back here, this is all our workstation. We got the clay pit right there where we mixed up all of the cob and clay that we used in the stonework and in this top wall, which is just beams going across there, and it's completely encased in clay. We'll be smoothing that out again in the near future. So we'll step back here before we go inside to get to work. Take a little bit different perspective of the build so far. We have been working on this thing all summer long. So a very time-consuming process, especially trying to capture it all on live stream. But she's coming together really well, and she's got a lot of unique features, a lot of different colors to her, a lot of different textures, a lot of different building materials than you might be used to seeing. We tried to make it unique as we could. Now we'll go ahead and get on the inside, and then we'll start getting messy. So again, you can see I have some work to do at the top part of the A-frame there to get that closed in, but that's just chinking it up. We're going to put a straighter beam in there, cut some of them vertical beams off. And that's just detail work that I'll do outside of the live stream. The live stream is primarily just getting the damn thing up. Now we'll go inside and check out some of the features on the inside. We did put a stone floor in the build. We pulled those stone slabs up out of the forest floor, and we got them all lined with crushed blue shale, the same kind of blue shale that we have out here in the chinking between our beams, which gives us this whole unique texture to the outside. It also gives a very good reflective surface. So if I have a campfire outside of the build, this is a very good reflective surface as far as reflecting light and lighting up the whole area with a very small campfire. Here on the inside, of course, we closed the inside of the stone walls in with clay as well. Up above our fireplace, we not only completely encased that wall in clay, but we embedded semi-precious stones, sea glass, and all kinds of other stuff into that just to make it a little bit different. And then we added on candle holders, which we got set up right there. This wall not only reflects the candlelight off of those candle holders, but you get that twinkle off of all those semi-precious stones that are embedded into the top right above the fireplace. And we wanted that entire wall completely encased in clay just because it is right above the fireplace, and it's going to be taking a lot of heat. We do have a lot of cracking in there. All of that is to be expected whenever you're working with clay. I kind of like the texture, but we will be going through and smoothing out some of those cracks with another layer of clay, a real thin kind of painted on type deal. We also have some special features that we'll be adding into our build today. These are kind of things that I pick up in the river whenever I'm out hiking or treasure hunting. There's a lot of islands in the main river, and these kind of artifacts from late 18, early 1900s wash up on those islands, and I get out there and I hunt them down and pick them up. So we got these that we're going to be fitting in around our fireplace, kind of like an accent. And right here, these urn-shaped pieces we will actually be using to top off the side columns of our fireplace and give it a little bit of accenting too. Using this kind of material in the building just takes up a lot of space that we don't have to use clay for. And it'll give us a unique look. So today, or at least this morning, my priority is smoothing out these two corners that you see right here. I got to bring those up and in to meet up with the fireplace and the chimney. So I got to bring these in and kind of block it all out, and then everything on the outside gets met up with this interior blocking, and then everything gets sealed together. You see that larger stone sitting up there? That's just a counterweight to the ledge. So that ledge is sticking out so far that I needed to put a counterweight on the back side of it to hold it up there. So it didn't tilt down into the fireplace. I actually needed it tilt back a little bit. So as the heat comes up from the fire, it hits that stone and it wants to travel at an upward angle, which will drive it right into our chimney. Now, whenever you're working with fireplace and chimney set up on the inside of your build, you about drafting heat. So as I just explained, the heat will rise up and hit that top stone, which is at a slight angle, driving the main heat column right up into the chimney. The chimney will be rather narrow and long. I want it narrow and long because it increases the air pressure. So cold air will draft into the fireplace because heat rises. So as the heat rises up through that very narrow channel, it's going to shoot up through there like a torch, and it's going to pull all the cold air of the build, inside the build, into there. It's going to draft it. So the cold air goes in, gets heated up by the campfire, and shoots out the chimney, and then you get this nice cycle. So you get the radiant heat off of the fire coming out, but the smoke and the primary column of heat is shooting straight up through that chimney. And all of the smoke and all of the toxic gases are pushed back into the fire pit itself, where it can only go up through the chimney. Because you got all that cold air rushing in, the hot air going up, it's just following the path of least resistance, so all of your smoke is going to go straight up through your chimney. So we got to think about that whenever we're doing this kind of design. So right now, I'm going to start getting a little bit messy. Hey, Jay and the Sticks, glad you could make it, buddy. I'm going to start getting a little bit messy here. I got all of my clay worked up. I got some stone here that'll help us raise this wall a little bit faster. And then we got our urn type accent pieces that we'll be setting at the top of our fireplace. And we have our screw-like buttons that will be fitting in to the clay that'll run across the top there. So a little bit of decorative work going into the build too. Before I get messy, we're going to take one more look on the outside of the build. While you guys hit that thumbs up, share this out on Facebook, Twitter, let everybody know that we're live streaming. I normally live stream in the evening, so I don't know how many people is going to show up for our live stream in the morning. Usually we do this about 5, 6 o'clock Eastern time, and then run late into the night. This is one of a rare occasion that I stream early in the morning, but I wanted to get to the morning crowd as we're wrapping up the series. So we'll take one more look around on the outside for those of you who have not seen my camp. Here we got the front yard, and we'll take a little walk here down to the way. We got the whole meadow area cleared out. Now you see that top line right there, that top ridge? From there on back, that was all grassy meadow. We cut that meadow down and used the plant material on our roof, which is an extra layer of protection on the roof. We come down here, there's our build, and just off to the side of our build is the famous Huntsman crystal, which we'll go up here and take a quick look at, because we got some new developments happening around the crystal since the last time I was out here live streaming. So we'll take a look at what's going on up here at the crystal right quick before we get to work. We're starting to get some different colored lichens coming in with the moss, which is it's a strange time of year to get new lichens growing, but they're growing. I got them there, I got them down here, and then we got them all the way up here. Here's the crystal, and then we got them growing right up here around the crystal. Our ivy that we got coming up around our stone column has completely encircled the column now. It starts out right here, and the last tip of it is right here. So we finally got a full circle around the column, and it's starting to go up it. So the overall picture of the crystal come next summer, we'll have ivy growing, spiraling all the way up to the crystal, and then of course it'll spread out across the ground, so this area will be completely green all year round. And then right here, this particular stone right here, which is sitting just offside of the crystal, this is our time capsule stone. So we're going to let that sit there for over winter and get cleaned off and kind of bleached out a little bit. And then all of the people that subscribe, or my subscribers, my primary supporters for the channel, will have their names carved in that stone, along with the date that we started the bushcraft build and the date that we left the camp to move on to another build, another area, another forest. So the primary supporters of the channel, all the guys and gals that have been with me since the beginning, supported me all the way through. People that will support me all the way up until we start carving that stone will have their names or their channel names carved into that stone. We'll be bringing out a cordless Dremel with a diamond bit to carve everybody's name in the stone along with the dates. That stone gets left here along with the crystal on the column, so this is sort of our time capsule here at the build. Not only do we have the build right over there, but we're going to have all of our names carved in stone, along with details about the Huntsman series and the Huntsman channel. And then we got the crystal sitting on top of the column. All of the adventures that we had on the camp, we might even carve in a couple of stories on that stone using that diamond bit Dremel. So we have a time capsule here. That stone will be left here long after we're gone. We'll get the stone bleached off through the winter time, get it all cleaned up, and then come summer next year, whoever's still with me through all of my adventures over the winter and supporting the channel no matter what I'd say and do, which I tend to do some crazy shit, will have their names carved in stone. Now we got to be getting inside the build and getting to work. So as I'm doing this, I will try to pay attention to the chat window. If anybody has any questions, comments, or anything like that, I will try to catch it while we're doing this. If I do have my back to the camera and I miss your question, do not hesitate to ask it a second time whenever you see me looking at the screen. So we got our clay, first round of clay all mixed up here. I have another back there in the back in the pit already mixed up. We got our building materials here, everything's ready to go, and then we got some extra water in here to kind of smooth this stuff out. Thank you. Appreciate that. We put a lot of work into this. Again, we been working on this damn thing all year long, so it damn well better look good. This isn't a temporary survival shelter. This is a damn doozy. This is the biggest shelter, or at least the most complicated shelter that I've ever put together. The stone floor and bringing in all the blue shale and doing the stonework, all of that stuff was new to me. I didn't research it. I didn't sit at home and blueprint this thing. Everything happened on the live stream. It just seemed like a good idea at the time, so that's what we did. It's been an evolutionary process, and it all happened unscripted, uncensored, live, and we have that whole stream there on the channel from raising the A-frame to what we're doing here today. So I'll have you guys sitting back here a little bit. Let me turn this around. I'll set you guys back here a little bit. I'm about to get muddy as shit as I'm closing in that big old hole there. Try to give you guys the best view possible without getting the sun glare. Of course, whenever you're live streaming, everything is just sort of unedited, unscripted. We probably will have technical difficulties. We'll get sun glare. I'll mess up what I'm trying to say. Right now I'm having trouble with the tripod. Whenever you're live streaming like this, anything can happen at any time. And anybody that watches my channel and can actually tolerate my ass knows that I can say and do just about anything at any time. You don't know what's going to happen whenever I'm live streaming. Alright, so that's not so bad, I guess. That hole looks bright as shit, though. I'm going to be starting over there on that far side. and all I'm going to be doing is leveling out the wall. So we're going to start right here at this angle. All I got to do is run a straight column up this side and start bringing everything in a little bit. So the fire pit itself is a little bit wider than the opening coming out, and then of course we got the chimney. So we'll start doing this, and then we'll just again, evolutionary process. I don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next. This might not even work. I might run out of clay. We're probably not going to get done everything that I hope to get done today, but that's just the way it goes. We got a lot of things going on the home front. So that's one of the reasons I got to stop live streaming so much. I'm out here, you know, doing all this stuff and focusing on live streaming, and doing the live streams while I'm trying to do the build is just too time consuming. It's taken us all summer to get this far. Winter's coming. It's going to be cold as shit in another month, and I got to be ready for that. So the live stream's got to stop just so I can focus on the build. You know, I've never done stonework until this build, and everything that we did here, it was just off the top of my head. It seemed like common sense, but it worked. It worked out really well, actually. Yeah, I never done bricklaying, stonework, anything like that before. I didn't even know how we were going to build this structure. I had no preconceived notion of how the structure should be. Everything was an evolutionary process from the start. We came out here. I had no idea where I was going. This was a whole new forest. The only reason we picked this particular spot was because it has wintergreen growing all around it, so it stays green all year. And it was the first patch of green that we spotted, so it was the only patch of green in the woods, so it seemed like a blessing. Like, there's our sign that that's where we should make this thing. So we get down here. We decided to make an A-frame structure. That decision happened on a live stream, and then it just evolved from there. I was actually putting the A-frame up, and I think I was starting to put the beams on, and I tripped over a stone. Well, I went to pick the stone up and move it out of the way, and I was like, well, I'll just use it to prop up one of the beams. So I put that stone down in front of the beam, and then it just clicked in my head, okay, we're going to frame the whole thing out in stone. So all of the beams are sitting on top of stone with stones behind them so they can't slide anywhere, right? And then the next thing you know, we're putting in a stone floor, and we're putting in stone walls, and a stone, just because I tripped over a stone. Again, all I'm doing here is just running up this sidewall, smoothing it out, and bringing it in. So nothing fancy. It's just muddy and it's time consuming. I wanted this build in this series to be as organic as possible. I guess that was my goal for live streaming a bushcraft build. I knew it was going to be time consuming. I didn't realize how time consuming. Trying to entertain the audience while, you know, streaming 3 or 4 hours is insane. Nobody watches a 3 or 4 hour video, but I have had audience members that come in at the start of the live stream, and they're still with me fucking 4 or 5 hours later, and I'm still going. So they were entertained enough the whole time to stick with me through it. It's been a lot of fun, and having the real-time interaction with you guys has probably been the highlight of the build, because I've had a lot of suggestions that happen in real time, and again, you just don't know what's going to happen. When I started getting tired, the energy of the audience and that live chat window kept me going a lot longer than I probably should have been going. It's been a lot of fun, but we got to wrap it up. So again, my tentative plan for today, come out here and do the interior work, just because we have the light. Yeah, we had the light, so we're going to do the inside work while we have the light, and then if I'm able to, which I don't know what's going to happen between now and then, I want to come back out and stream again tonight at 7 for my regular nighttime audience, and we'll be doing some building after dark. Of course, we have light sources and all of that stuff, and nothing risky. But we'll be doing some after dark building and probably do a solo overnighter out here tonight. So I come out here, I'll live stream for quite a while, but then whenever I run out of power, then I just hang out here at camp, sleep here at camp, and then hike out the next morning, or sometimes I hike out that night. It works. Alright, it's a little too dry. I kind of had this clay mixed up before I started streaming, and it's dried out some since. It's not too bad, but I might have to add water to it every now and then. These walls don't have to be super thick, but they do have to be thick enough to support stone. So I have to have this all made up right. Basically, what I've been doing with these kind of things is just using stone, or the clay, like the glue that holds all the stones together, and give us level surfaces. I know somebody probably, I've messed up quite a bit trying to do it, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I first started. It's kind of learn as you go. Which is a good habit to have, I suppose. I'll bring you guys over here in a second so you can see how I'm blending this into the wall and trying to get a straight line here. Try to give you a little bit better view. That damn glare. That glare is going to kill us. But all I'm doing, as you can see, between the wet, I'm just making a smooth surface going all the way up. Some of it's stone, some of it's clay. Just gotta go with the materials that I have all the way up until we can mount our piece at the top. But right now it's basically just smoothing out those rough edges. So you can see how it's starting to smooth out there a little bit. And then when we get closer to the top, I gotta bring it out a little bit more, and that gets them out there at the top. So we got a pretty good ledge we gotta build here next. stone in there. Too big. Yeah, that one's a little bit too big. And I need a wider one anyway. That one might work. Once I get above that ledge, it doesn't matter because I got to bring stone all the way across anyway. Yeah, they don't know where to step it, I think. Man, I'm not too happy with that one either. Oh, there we go. If I go that route, it'll be close. Bring it down a little bit. You have to do both sides when you're doing something like this, just so you have that structural integrity to it. Still got a little bit of a curve that I'm trying to work out. This is just working clay. I feel like I'm in my 8th grade art class. There, it's smoothed out. Much better. One that's nice and thick with a heavy foundation. It's got to be able to support a good amount of weight when I mount that on there. Right now the clay's too wet, it can't handle the weight. It's gonna have to set up a little bit. We might even have to let the straight edges dry, just so we have a solid base to build across on. So it might be a work in progress. Just want to make sure it's attached to the wall really well to help hold it up, and then we'll go ahead and start on the other side while that one's setting up some. I might even have to do the top mounts just because they're so heavy. I might have to do the top mounts during the later live stream tonight, but come over here. See if I can turn this around with all the clay on my hands. You can see how I'm just leveling it out and kind of, whoa, there we go. Leveling it out and kind of giving a little lip to the inside of the fire pit. So the fire pit actually goes back in there just about an inch. and then comes around. We're going to be doing the same with this rough edge over here. So it's kind of a repeat of what we just did. There we go. And that's one of the things that we've learned live streaming, is that there's a lot of repetition. There are a lot of boring parts, just like what you guys are watching now. Nobody wants to hang around and see some guy just play with mud. Some guys do. I've had, some loyalists follow me, but yeah, it's a long, tedious, repetitive process. And doing it on a live stream, it can get boring for a lot of people. Hey, see, I'll stop here, and after I get this basket emptied out, this should take us pretty close to the top, but we have to get some more clay out there for this interior. I'll stop and we'll talk a little bit. I'm just trying to get this to a good consistency, and then start running this other side and smoothing it out. I left these edges over here jagged like this, so I had a place to, it's kind of like lock, I guess I could have built them smooth, but that would have been like trying to fit a puzzle together. Like, you gotta have the perfect stones and, do it the perfect way, and I just didn't have time for that. It's easier just to fill all of these gaps in with clay and, merge the wall together. Just put a clay outer edge to it and try to fit stones in there to make it all perfect. Well, nothing about this build was supposed to be perfect. We wanted it like crazy looking, and I had guys point that out, that nothing was even. The beams were all different sizes. I'm like, hell yeah, because we only used what was in like 50 yards of the build site. We didn't go wandering off trying to find perfect building material. We used what we had, and we molded our idea around our material. We didn't try to mold our material around our idea. So we did it all backwards. You use what you got, not what you think you need. Turned out pretty well, if you ask me. Again, trying to get that nice solid foundation, heavier stones at the bottom, and lighten the stone as I'm going up, so I don't get it top heavy and the wall just caves in on itself. I had a hard time getting clay out of the bank today. It's all dried out on me. It's hard to dig it out. I was hoping to have a little bit more clay than what I ended up with, but we got what we got, and we'll stream what we can stream. That does not mean the end of the series, the end of the live stream series, does not mean that we won't be doing live streams out here again. It just means that whenever we do come out to live stream, we won't be focused on the build. You guys won't just be sitting around watching me work on the build. We'll actually be out here hanging out, talking bushcraft and survival, and actually enjoying the fruits of our labor. So we'll still be live streaming. It just won't be the build part. It'll be just live stream from camp. So it's kind of a play on words. But I think we've pretty much covered all the lessons that there are to cover as far as building the thing goes. We've covered it from beginning to where we're at now, and the rest of it's just such minute detail, and it's kind of a repeat of what we've already got covered topic wise, and there's just no point in continuing on whenever I could just come out here, focus on getting the job done, and then we just hang out. So the live building part will be finished up today, but we'll still be coming out here live streaming from camp and checking everything out, and hanging out, and just having a good old time. Alright, so now I'm out of clay. We're partial way up. I don't like the stability on this. The clay's a little bit wetter than what I used on the other side, because it's at the bottom of the basket. So I'm going to make it a little bit thicker with that next vat of clay that I got back there. That's going to bring us on up to the top, what I got prepared here for today. So we'll let these set up until tonight, and then I'll have more clay all mixed up for the later live stream tonight to be able to finish this thing off. We got to have a solid foundation though, so I'm going to set you guys back here just for a second. I'm going to run to the back there and grab another round of clay, and then we'll keep going on. You can kind of see how I'm leveling it out there. You can tell the difference in the color contrast. So nothing fancy about it, it's just mud. I'll be right back. Yeah, just keep on going. While we had the daylight to do it on the inside, but we still got to go to the outside and do the back part of this too. A lot of work. A lot of work. Man, this is really tacky. I started off with, that last basket was very good as far as the consistency goes. This is a little bit too wet. I don't like that. It's going to take it too long to dry. So I got, boom. Close. Close. I don't know if that's going to sit in there yet or not. Might be too wet. And she's too wet. The ledge is the right size. It's just too wet. It's going to have to dry out some. We'll go ahead and seal our bottom off. way I can bring this stuff up here and if it'll tack up. Now it's getting too dry. Weird consistency with the clay today. Accent's still gonna come up a lot, but we gotta let that dry out some. I'm actually running a little on power, so we're gonna get cleaned up and get you guys hooked up so we can keep streaming. So I'm gonna run down here to the creek real quick. I'll get cleaned up and I'll get you guys hooked up so we can keep streaming. That's what that little break there was. It's my phone telling me that I'm low on power. I can only stream for about an hour before I have to plug you into the backup power supply. So let's see if I can turn this around with mud on my hands. Probably not. Oh, there we go. I get washed up here real quick and then we'll get everybody hooked up. Hey Tom, I'm glad you could make it, buddy. Let me get washed up real quick. We'll go have a sit down. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. It just ran out of power. As I mentioned there, I hope that actually streamed that I was about to run out of power. So that's what happened there. Hopefully everybody comes back. I tried to get washed up as fast as I could before as I was washing up, my iPhone actually just shut off. So luckily I was able to resume the stream once I got it plugged into my backup power supply, and we can keep going here. Sorry about that. We're step outside here. I need a break, and we gotta let that clay sit up a little bit. Hazards of working with clay. You don't know how long it's going to take before it dries enough where you can keep building. But I can sit down with you guys for a little bit here. At least those of you who are still with me, as everybody else comes back, and talk to you a little bit before we move on to other things. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody comes back. I shared this out on Twitter. I'm not able to share on Facebook no more. I used to be able to share the live stream that we started the live stream over on Facebook, but I can't do it. Whenever I hit the share link, the only thing it gives me is Twitter. So I guess everybody else, the Facebook maybe just cut them off. Didn't want everybody pulled away from Facebook. Break time. I need to grab my water real quick. Hey guys, I want to show you something. We've done this before. The last time we did it with wild turkeys. We're going to do it with something else today. Here we go. This is the kind of shit that happens at the old huntsman's camp. This is the first time we've captured one of these on a live stream. Can you make him out? Ugh. zoomed in that far, it's kind of blurry, but he's sitting down there. It's a blue heron sitting on the bank of the creek. A lot of times whenever I'm down here, wildlife tends to come right up here to the camp, whether it's wild turkeys or the deer, or in this case, blue heron. Wild turkeys we had come down here, man, they were brave as fuck. They were right there on that bend, right where he's sitting. Within bow shot, really. Old Blue, yeah. Crazy ass old man. Come down here to visit. I'm up here live streaming and talking and being all loud and shit. And I looked down the creek there, and there he was sitting right there towards the center of the screen. Again, I zoom in and it just gives you a blurry image though, but that little bend in the creek right there, man, that's pretty popular for the wildlife to come up and visit. Damn it. There we go. I got clay on my iPhone, so it makes it hard to turn things around a little bit. I have been up since 2 o'clock in the morning. For some reason, 2 o'clock in the morning seems to be my hour. That's the time I wake up every single night. I could be up for 24 hours straight, go to bed at midnight, and at 2 o'clock, my ass is up. So I got up at 2 o'clock, got to attend to some things around the house, and decided we was going to wrap this damn thing up. Wife and I packed up everything in our house. We've been at our same place for the past 10 years now. Decided that we wanted to go someplace different, so we've been shopping around for another place, and going through that whole moving process, packing and searching and packing and searching. We ain't even got a place to go when we're packing shit up, so it's kind of like multifaceted bag of fuck going on. But our options right now were turned out to be a little bit more limited than what we had anticipated. I'm trying to get my credit score up just a little bit higher, and so is she. We're taking hits to our credit because we get these hard inquiries on our credit whenever we're searching for places, and they have to go through that whole process, you know. So we've been dealing with that. We just want to move. Like, there's really no reason for it. We got a good place with. I mean, it's private. We got control of the whole property. You know, the girls got their fenced-in backyard, so I can let the dogs out. Don't have to worry about them. And Paisley's getting big, so she has to get some of that energy run off of her. But being at the same place for 10 years, man, we've already done everything there is to do with that place. We've arranged it every way we can arrange it. Even packing a bunch of stuff up and just looking at it, it's just like, just burn out, want something new. So I got that going on. And then got a work thing going on. It's just life is getting in the way of YouTube. And that's my role. Like, I know Courtney's not happy where we're at. She wants someplace different. You know, she's got a lot of stresses. And I'm not a big help with those, but I try to be. I'm probably one of her biggest stressors, actually. Just tending to home and trying to upgrade life a little bit. So that's what I'm into, and that's why things have kind of slowed down on the channel a little bit, and why I needed to wrap this live stream series up. Again, this is like either episode 22 or episode 23 in this one series. On top of doing these live streams, I also film the regular Friday night episodes, which is coming up on like 150 fucking episodes, or at least it feels like it. And then we do other side projects on top of a lot of video editing and processing, and YouTube is just taking up too much of my damn time. So I'm going to be slowing down on YouTube a little bit. I got to cut this project off just so I can finish the damn project and not worry about filming it. And sometimes I just want to come out here and hang out at my camp and not have to carry a camera with me. So I'm not going to be filming. I'm just going to be coming out and hanging out in the woods. It's the same with my solo overnighters that I've been doing lately. A lot of them I don't film, and or I film sections of it. My last solo overnighter, I went to a new woods. You'll see it this Friday night. I went to a new woods, And my goal was to hike from the southwest corner of the woods to the northeast corner, which was about a 4-mile hike. I did it at night, using only a compass to navigate my way through the woods. So I just had to keep going northeast. But that turned it into a little bit more difficult than it seemed. It was like I could go for 5 or 10 minutes, but then I'd have to stop and check that compass because I was getting turned around so much with limited light. I did have lights with me on last week's episode. I didn't have any light at all, no light source at all, and we were hiking through the woods using a trail cam to film it in infrared. We did that. This time we brought lights with us, and we just used a compass to try to navigate through the woods and practice that. No map, no phone, no way out. Is you got point A, point B, and you got a compass, and that's all you got. That's the only tool that you got to find your way through the woods in the middle of the night. So yeah, that was fun. Obviously I made it out. Then we get out of the woods. We got out of the woods around sunrise, and we go on a day hike following the night hike. So and the day hike takes us to a whole new area that we haven't captured on the series before, and some magnificent views up in that area. So it's gonna be a fun Friday night episode of Huntsman, but it might be my last episode for a while. Like I said, I got all this shit going on at home, and trying to tend to life, and YouTube is not my career, so it's not a priority. Let's go back in here real quick and take a look at this wall. Anybody got any thoughts, questions, comments, anything before I get back in there and maybe get muddy again? While I'm sitting here looking at the chat window. Back in here, take a look at this. See our jewel encrusted wall there? Nobody does that shit. Like, old Huntsman's out here putting semi-precious stones and sea glass in his fucking firewall over top of his fireplace. Just because I can. I picked it up, and I pick all those pieces up in the creek, and I was like, I didn't want them laying around the damn house anymore, so I came out here and basically gave them back to the wild by putting it in the build. They ain't gonna stay up there forever. As tight as this structure is, even building it with stone, it ain't gonna stay up forever. This is gonna be a ruin someday. The only thing that's still gonna be remaining of this camp is that damn crystal sitting over there on that column, and our stone carving that we're gonna be doing, that stone carving time capsule type deal that we're gonna be doing. I am bringing in other things here. Turn this around real quick. I am bringing in other things to camp as I'm progressing. We got some wood cut up over here, and started gathering up things like that. It's all nice and dry. I mean, that'll hold an amber forever. Like, I could carry it like in the wintertime. I got these in here. They're all dried. I dried them out in my house before I brought them out here, so I can put a hot coal in there, and I can carry my hot coal from one place to another, and it'll stay protected in there during the winter. And then for the really cold nights, whenever I want to make sure that I keep my fire going, I brought out some coal, so I can toss a lump of coal in there and probably still have a hot ember the next morning to get my fire going. So starting to process up firewood, bringing it out, things like that there, where if I decide to leave camp, I can carry an ember with me, and I don't have to worry about it going out, and then bringing in the coal and things like that to keep the fire going overnight, so I can sleep and not have to worry about not having a fire going the next day. So we brought that up about, we're going to have to let those sit up. I'm almost going to have to let those sit up until I live stream tonight before I put these bad boys on top of it, just because these are so heavy. They got to sit up there kind of like an accent piece right in there, and then, you know, I just mold it all in, but the foundation's got to get set up. And that's what we're going to run into. We're not going to get very far here today because it's so cold out here and the clay is so wet. It's going to take forever for that to kind of set up and make sure that it just doesn't crumble or just collapse in on itself before I can get back out here and stream tonight. It's probably better just to let those set up and do it in sections. I only got a tiny little bit So I can bring this side up a little bit more to kind of match that side, and then we just fit our accent pieces in there at the top and kind of fit them in. So we're almost done with it. Just got to do this little bit right over here. I guess we can go from that angle. Just bring that up level to the other side, and that'll be that. Then we'll be going down washing up again. Just gotta come over about to there. I gotta have a thick enough surface where it can support the weight. The rest of it's just kind of pressing it into the wall. That's pretty damn close. We'll go up a little bit higher. Yeah, see, as I was tapping that down, I got a crack develop right there. It's just too damn wet right now. But when this stuff dries, it's like concrete. Like, this shit ain't going nowhere. Alright. We're just going to set that right there. We're going to go take a look at the outside of the wall. Probably got some work to do out there. Ugh. Can't just do one side, you can look at both sides. So. Get here and take a look. Yeah. You can see that gap right there? Like I had it smoothed off on the inside, but back here we already got a gap forming where it's pulling away from the dry wall. So I just gotta start smoothing that crack out, and I'll actually overlay it. So I'll be taking a little bit of clay and bringing it over here and then smoothing it all together where we got a nice wet ledge going all the way, you know, a couple inches over onto the dry, and then it'll all be a nice solid wall that way. So that's what I'll be doing here. Outside patchwork. Alright, I can just reach in there. I didn't have to bring all that shit out with me. One of the benefits to not having this completely closed in yet. I don't have to run in and out, in and out, in and out. Just reach right through the damn wall. Here. I want a smooth surface on the outside, that way when rain hits the wall it just falls right down it. It doesn't have anything to catch on. That'll work. And we got the same thing going on the other side here. So we'll just smooth this out. The bit's too bad it is, the thicker the wall, obviously you got the stability, but it takes forever for it to dry, especially this time of year where it stays cool. Which is why I'm pressed to get it done. Like, I can't be worried about filming no more. It's just got to be done. Or we're not going to be hanging out here in the winter time. If we do, it'll be a little bit drafty. Over here. just set you up on the fireplace there. Clay work. Boring as shit, ain't it? A little bit more and that'll be done. Alright. Yay. Piece at a time. Fall colors are looking pretty out here, but they ain't gonna last much longer before I know it. I'm gonna be this little island of green and nothing but gray and white. Go down here and wash up one more time. Oh, we're gonna try an experiment here too. I don't know how close he's gonna let us get, but that old blue heron's still sitting down there. So let me wash up. We'll see if we can sneak up on him and get him on film a little bit better. Water's getting cold. Need to be doing some fishing before it gets too late in the year. Alright, let's see if we can sneak up on this guy. Tell you what. I don't know how close he's gonna let us get, but we'll try to get a little closer. There he goes. Yeah, he didn't let us get close enough to zoom in on him. I went to crouch down and he flew off. Yeah, well, can't get it right all the time. Good view of the camp. So I'm gonna have to let my the walls that I got up today dry some before I could put those real heavy accent pieces on at the top. Not sure what I'm gonna do next. Tell you what, I don't know if it was such a good idea building my structure this close to the edge of the bank. Because if that erodes over the winter, we might have some problems come next spring. We do got about a 2-foot ledge there, but I noticed up here, you can see how the edge of my build is right at the edge. This back side, it's washed out some. So you can see that top part right there is the build, where you see all that bark on there. So it's merged right almost to the edge of the bank, and it's washed out some. Now it does have a lot of stone up there to kind of block anything from sliding down it unless the bank itself gives way. But I'm gonna have to come up with a way to stop the erosion of that bank some. But that's a puzzle for another day. Probably use a fish net. Drape a fish net over there and give the roots something to hang on to. Had the fish net connected right to the structure. I'll sit down one more time here, guys. Getting kind of cold. Oh. I got that damn sun behind me. I'm gonna be wrapping the stream up. I do have everything plugged in now where I can keep going for a while. But the primary stream for this is a 2-part live stream set today. You come out here, get the base done here this morning, and then go home, get everything recharged again, and all set up for another live stream this evening. So that's the plan, and usually I have a much larger crowd of people in the evenings, Eastern time, than I do in the mornings. I tried streaming in the mornings before. It never really worked out too well. It's just my audience. My core audience is always around in the evening, and I don't want them to miss anything, so we will be back out here streaming again later on this evening. It'll be start at 7 Eastern time. Again, I'll be going home, recharging all of the gear as far as recharging my phone, recharging my battery backup. So tonight's live stream is probably going to run for 3 or 4 hours. We'll be out here after dark. As you can see on the inside of the build, we'll go in there real quick. On the inside of the build, we got our fireplace in the works, which is, you can see how it's kind of shaping up the work that we've done here today. Look how messy I am, man. I just got water bottle laying around, all this other shit. But you can see how that kind of leveled out. So we got our accent pieces to put up there, and then we got to run a stone across the top for the mantle. So I'll be doing that as soon as these 2 columns that we put in here today set up enough to where they're stable to hold the weight of the accent pieces that I want to put across the top. So just bits and pieces here and there. It's a damn slow process, which is another reason I want to cut off the live stream. I don't have to stress about it. Like I'm not really stressed about, you know, we need to get this done and blah 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 blah. I can just take my time and do it however I want to do it. It's not about the filming aspect of it, where it's just not boring for the audience, you know. But yeah, that wall's coming along pretty good. Get that damn water bottle out of the way there real quick. Actually need this out back. That's a little bit cleaner shot. We don't have all the garbage laying around. So I'll take what little bit of clay that I got left in here, and I'll be going back there to the back. You can see underneath that counterweight stone that's sitting there at the top, you see that little arch gap. We'll get that gap filled in from the back side. We'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll have to go dig out more clay here this afternoon and bring it up so we can continue building later this evening. You can see my 2 little candles, my little taper candles right up there on the candle holders that we built right into the wall. Tonight we want to stay out here after dark, and the only light that we want to have inside the build is those 2 little taper candles to see how this light tan wall reflects the light off of just 2 taper candles. So obviously I'll have my filming lights with me, but we will be shutting the lights off tonight and seeing how this thing lights up with just those taper candles rather than an electronic light source. That'll be step 1. And then step 2 is actually having a fire going inside of that fire pit and seeing how things go from like that. So we have multiple light sources here. Putting in those candle holders, that was a nice little feature to the wall. As we was building the wall, it just seemed like a damn good idea at the time. It also added a little bit of stone accent up there into the wood section of the wall. But then I got larger candles too. we got the taper candles. We'll take a little bit better look at those. And how we got those set up, just a taper candle with a little bit of clay and blue shale back to protect the wall from the heat of the flame. And it's kind of a decorative feature. So multi-purpose. We're protecting the wood inside the wall from the heat of any candle flame or even a small oil lamp that we might set up there. Or I got larger candles like this over here and we make everything smell like apple and cinnamon. But we'll see how this looks tonight after dark for the very first time, lit up with candlelight rather than having this light here, which is also a charging port hanging from the ceiling. Up here on the ceiling, I purposely left, if I can get a good angle of it, I purposely left this hook right here up on the beam whenever I was building it, because I have this light with the little latch. So whenever I'm out here filming at night, I just have this hung up there and it lights up the whole build, and it gives us a nice even light to film with at night. So I can have that hung up there. And this thing is this is one of my prized pieces of gear. This got me out of last winter's polar vortex. I had another light with me, a collapsible light, and it failed. The LEDs in it started freezing up and the batteries were dying. This here's a lot more insulated. So whenever that other light failed me, this was my backup at the time, I pulled this out and it got me out of a polar vortex. It got so cold so fast that I had frost and ice forming in my goatee, and I didn't know how I was going to get out. My hands felt like they were getting burned. They were so cold, and I had gloves on. It was a bad situation, but that little light got me out of that bad situation too. And we'll go out here where we got a little bit more light. I want to show you guys something else. Tom, I don't know if Tom's still with us or not. But yeah, that little light right there saved my ass during last winter's polar vortex. We went out to the woods right before the front came through, got into the middle of nowhere, had no shelter with us. We were just going to take this storm on head on, shelter. That cold front came through, the temperature instantly dropped, and my gear that I had, what I started the channel off with, started failing me. Just this knockoff gear that Amazon stores want to push on people all the time started failing me during what could have been an emergency survival situation. I mean, I had no shelter. I had the clothes on my back, the lights and the filming gear, and we're out in the, whenever that polar vortex hit, everything just froze. My beard froze, my coat got so cold that it stiffened up. It was a bad situation, and if it wasn't for this little light, I probably wouldn't have got out of the woods that night. But Tom Ritter was in here earlier. I don't know if he's still with us or not, but Tom is good friends with Charles Hoffman. Charles Hoffman is the one who designed my knife. He custom made this knife, and this was the fourth knife that Charles Hoffman made. If I can pull it out of there, it's a little tight right now. Black pearl on that handle with silver pins, carbon blade. Been using the shit out of this knife. I've used this knife to build this bushcraft build with. So everything you see behind me, like all of this stonework and everything that I got behind me, I used 2 tools to build this structure. Get you over here a little bit better. That glare. So I used 2 primary tools to build this structure. I used my Deep Woods Bushcraft and Survival knife made by Charles Hoffman, and like I said, carbon blade. And I've never had to sharpen this knife. I've had this knife for a year now. I built this thing with this knife and no other knife, and it still has its edge. That's insane. This is like a magic knife. Charles Hoffman knows what the hell he's doing whenever he made this knife. And this was an experimental thing. So Charles got a hold of me a couple of days ago and said that he is going to design a tracker knife. Now, this is your typical bushcraft style knife. A tracker knife is made for bushcraft and hunting. You can gut a deer with it, you can bushcraft with it. I mean, it's a multi-purpose knife. So he's going to develop a special tracker knife for the Huntsman series. he asked me if I wanted to test it out, just like I did this knife here. And obviously I was all for it. Any chance that anybody can get their hands on a custom Charles Hoffman knife, you gotta get in on it. Because like I said, I don't bullshit anybody about gear. And Charles designed this knife. I won it in a contest on his Facebook group, which is Deepwoods Bushcraft and Survival. So you go over to Facebook, type in Deepwoods Bushcraft and Survival, join that group, because Charles will have contests where you can win knives like this, and all kinds of other stuff going on in that group. So I jumped in one of Charles's contests. I ended up winning the knife. I've used it for the past year, and I have yet to take a sharpening stone to it, which is absolutely insane. And I don't know, you know, those of you who are like really into the channel, the shit that I do out in the woods, I have to have good gear. I can't have anything with a trademark on it that's just, you know, mass produced in a fucking factory somewhere. I need something that's just like fucking enchanted. And Charles Hoffman knows what the hell he's doing whenever he designs his knives. It's not a cheap knockoff. It's not mass produced. There is quality pounded into every fucking inch of that knife. And I know that because we've done this entire fucking build with the Charles Hoffman knife. And the other obviously the other primary piece of gear that I used to build this structure was obviously breaking up the floor, the stonework. Whenever I'm breaking up stone, I just use the blunt end of my axe. Get this shit out of here. The Huntsman axe, pretty typical axe. I mean, it's not big. It's the right size to fit in my backpack. I usually have this on the inside of my backpack, not on the outside. Reason I don't carry my axe on the outside is because it's exposed to all the fucking weather, and I don't want to be polishing my fucking axe head up all the time, and I don't want my wood getting all worn out. I designed all that shit on there, put all the graffiti on it, as everybody says. Charles Hoffman knife for cutting all of the paracord and shit like that. That's in there. And as far as all of my woodworking goes, it was this cheap ass little $10 folding saw, nothing fancy. I built this structure with this, and the axe was a gift, the saw was a Christmas present, and I won this in a contest. So I'm like the hobo of Bushmen. Like there's no money invested into this. I built this structure with a Charles Hoffman knife, a $10 folding saw, and a Christmas gift axe that you know, I stained and carved up myself. There was nothing else to it. Cutting the cordage and a lot of the processing a lot of the plant fibers that went into the build with the Charles Hoffman knife. Obviously cutting all of the beams and everything with the $10 saw. And whenever it comes to putting in the stone floor and the stone walls and everything like that, just using the blunt end of my axe, you can see how that thing got tore up hitting stone. But I got a video up here with this giant stone. I hit that stone with this magic axe one time, and that stone just shattered, and we got us as a floor. So yeah, there's been a lot of miracles captured right here on the fucking live stream series while we were going through it all. And we did all of this with just those 3 pieces of kit. That's all I have in my backpack right now. Aside from my filming gear, that's it. There's nothing else in there. There's no med kit, there's no survival gear, there's no tarp. I got a water bottle. I'm about to lose my voice, so I probably need to drink. I didn't even bring alcohol with me today, which is exceedingly rare, but I thought that it would be just weird if I started drinking fucking hard liquor this early in the morning. But there's nothing else in my backpack, guys. It's just filming gear, an axe, a saw, and a knife, and that's it. Nothing else. I see all these guys with, you know, going out there with all of this shit that they don't use. I ain't lugging that shit out in the woods. I'm out here to fucking work. The last thing I want to be doing is carrying 30 pounds worth of gear with me on the way out. I take what I need, not what I want. Axe, saw, knife, we got us a build. And we didn't just do the build, we landscaped the entire fucking area around the build. I mean, look at that. We cleared all of this out. all the way down through there as far as you can see. Anything that's open, we cut it all down. This little black flag you see right here, that's actually my work shirt. I leave it down here to desensitize the deer to my scent. So I'll be down here working whenever I'm hard working, like whenever I'm gathering up materials and stuff like that right before the live streams, I have that shirt on. And then right before my streams or right before I start filming or something like that, I take the shirt off, it's got my scent on it, hang it up there in the tree, and it desensitizes all of the wildlife to my scent. So whenever I am down here, my scent's not spooking them. They just come right up here. They don't give a shit. That's how I got everything up here. The wild turkeys, the deer that you see on my channel, they're just all desensitized to me doing processes like that. So you get hunters out there, professional hunters out there, who try to sell you all this shit to cover up your scent, mask your scent, and all this other shit, which is all fine and dandy if you're going out on a hunt and you're in a woods that you don't frequent very often. If it happens to be your property, and it happens to be, those deer happen to be on your property, and you know you're going to be out there all the damn time, there's no point in trying to mask your scent from the deer. Just desensitize them to your scent, get them used to your scent. So I hang that black flag up, got my scent on it, and then I put food down for them right underneath it. So they have to go up there and smell me in order to get their apples or whatever, corn or whatever else I'm putting out for them. We started that early on in this project, desensitizing the wildlife and bringing them in. So I'll bring in seed for the turkeys, and I'll have it spread all over, so I get wild turkeys coming right up to the build. Put out apples and corn, mineral sites and stuff like that for the deer, and we have the black flag hanging up there to desensitize them to the scent. And just doing the stuff like that, integrating yourself into the forest and not trying to push the forest away from you. You can't come out to the woods and do something like what you see me doing with the wildlife, thinking that you have dominion over the place. You don't come out here trying to control anything. And it was the same with the build. I wasn't coming out here trying to control the build. The build developed itself with whatever resources I had in this tiny little area. So there was no blueprint, there was no script, there was no nothing. It was, this is what's here, and it developed itself. It was very, I don't even know how to put it. Like the vision of it, it's just like tripping over the stone. So we got the idea for putting a stone foundation in around the build and the stone floor. All of the stonework came just for me tripping over a damn stone. You know, I'm walking through the woods, I'm trying to gather up beams to put up on the A-frame, tripped over a rock, and the next thing you know, a rock is in my head. So we built stone walls rather than all wood walls. We put in a stone floor rather than having a dirt floor, or, you know, having debris over the floor to cover it up in the wintertime. So the lesson with this build and with this site was how to bend nature without breaking it. I wasn't trying to push the wildlife back, I was trying to bring them closer. I wasn't trying to push the wilderness back, I was trying to integrate it into the build itself. I was taking the forest and just reshaping it into what you see behind me there. So we wanted everything natural, we wanted everything to weather naturally, and we didn't want straight beams. We didn't want everything cut to a perfect length. We didn't even knock off some of the limbs that are on the inside. We used those for hooks. Everything was just evolutionary, and it just kind of self-developed throughout the live bushcraft build series. And I mentioned earlier in the stream, whenever I'm sitting at home, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to film the next day. I'm not thinking about what I need to do to the build until I'm out here at the build. I don't waste time trying to do that shit. Like, cause whenever you're doing something like this is a permanent bushcraft build. Whenever you're doing something like this, nothing is ever going to go according to plan. So there's no point in having a plan. You can have a general idea or a vision, but just let the damn thing develop itself. It'll tell you how it needs to be built. And I think that's the overall lesson for anybody that's doing a permanent or semi-permanent build. If you let that build teach you how to build it, just using common sense, you'll get more out of the experience than trying to force it into being what you dreamed it to be. It's never going to be the way you dreamed it. This thing, I had no idea that it was even in my imagination until it came out. There are guys out there who do permanent structures by the book with a blueprint, and you know they have a specific plan. They're measuring everything out, and it's just ridiculous how complicated they make it. Like it's like having a fucking 7-step process to make ice cubes. Don't make it complicated. The thing will teach you how to build it. You just got to listen to it while you're doing it. And listen, pay attention to your environment while you're doing it. Just like tripping over a rock, how can I use that rock? Get it out of my way, but integrate it into the build. The next thing you know, we got stone walls, and how many bushcrafters out there build shit out of stone? It just happened to be there's a lot of stone in the area, so stone was a primary resource, and it was a lot more readily available than wood, which is odd. But the landscape around the camp is old creek bed. The creeks moved through time. I got 2 tributaries that meet up right here, and both of them have traveled over probably a fucking couple thousand years and left these ridges, and all of this stone that's laying here now is old creek bed. So I'm just harvesting these ancient creek beds, the stone out of these ancient creek beds, and building the structure with. Some of the stuff washed down. We got exposed blue shale. We got exposed clay. So how can I use that as building material rather than just looking out in the woods and saying, "Oh, that's a pretty rock"? It's not just a pretty rock. It's a building material. You can't use organic dirt to do a build like this because organic dirt just don't hold up. It just melts. But you can use clay and throw in some fibrous plant material so you get some tensile strength to it. And throw in some sand, and then as that clay and that sand and that, you know, those plant fibers dry up, you get basically a concrete wall that'll stand for at least a few years before you have to, you know, do any major repair to it. So yeah, it was just about coming out here, sitting down, not trying to imagine the build, but trying to take stock of what I had readily available within 50 yards of the build. I don't haul anything further than 50 yards because it's just too much energy. It's not a fair trade. I'm not going to spend that much energy just for a log, you know. If it didn't come off the back ridge where I got most of my wood, or it didn't come from one of these creek beds, it just didn't go into the build. I'm trying to take the resources that are readily available, which was within a 50-yard radius of the site, and mold it into that. The one aspect to the camp is the crystal. Obviously, you know, we chronicled dragging that crystal down. It was close to a half a mile down the creek, and I moved that by hand, and that was just a bushfit challenge. It was a wilderness endurance challenge. It was kind of like a exercise routine. I'd come out and I'd lug the crystal for a while, and then I'd come up here and work on the build. Lug the crystal for a while and work on the build. So I had that kind of that workout going in there. And the workout, you know, that endurance challenge of lugging that fucking massive crystal up here and then being able to get it up onto that stone column, it's a unique feature to the camp, but it was also, here's your trophy for winning the bushfit challenge that you self-imposed. They give a story behind it, you know, which is nice. It's good to have stories. There's a lot of stories behind this build that we have all got to share while the series has been going on. We got one more stream before we wrap this thing up. And then if you want to see the build, you have to see it on the Friday night episodes. Or like I said, later on down the road, we'll be doing solo overnighters out here, but I got to finish the build itself. I got to get all of the detailing done, and I don't want to be filming while I'm doing that, just because I'm running out of good weather to do it in. Once it starts snowing and the ground freezes up, I'm not going to be able to dig out clay to be chinking things up. So I only have a few weeks of being able to get clay before it's not a ready resource anymore. It's going to be froze. So I have to wait till next spring, the spring's thaw, to get more clay to, you know, add on to the structure or do whatever I need to do. So time is limited right now, which is the only reason we're going to be cutting off the live streaming of the build, and where I can just come out here and build. Other than that, we will be coming out and hanging out, doing solo overnighters. We'll get our winter overnighters in. Filming overnighters, I think there's only been a few times where I actually went to a camp and I had the fire and I sort of did the traditional overnight bushcraft video, which everybody does over and over and over again. I don't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to go out into the woods and do what everybody else is doing. I don't want to go out there and fix me a goddamn breakfast bagel and then go home. I wanted to do something different. So if everybody else is going to a pre-established camp with a pack full of gear and their food's already divided up into little Ziploc bags to where all they have to do is throw it together, I'm going to leave all the gear at home. I'm not going to go to a camp. I'm just going to wander through the woods at night, and wherever I decide to lay down and sleep, I lay down and sleep. We've captured all of that on video throughout the history of the channel, which is coming up on 2 years that we've been doing this, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but we have traveled a lot in the past 2 years. We've done a lot in the past 2 years. Our first main camp was a wiki up, and it was a tank, and then we did a lean-to right next to the wiki up. It's still standing, it's still there. We did a lot of work with the wildlife, a lot of hiking, a lot of exploring, coming down here and doing this series. The channel has been insane for going on 2 years now. I'm not burnt out yet, and I got a long way to go. We're going to keep doing this kind of thing where we come out, we build a semi-permanent or permanent structure, and then we'll move to a completely different area, a completely different setting, and build a different type of structure. And we'll do it all in a completely different way. It might be a live stream series just like this one. We might be doing another live bushcraft build series, part 2, type deal. Where it won't be an A-frame structure, it'll be something else. But it'll all be captured on live stream where you guys can see it all happen in real time and the kind of time that it takes to put something like this together, rather than seeing it in pre-prepared, edited videos where everything's sterilized and everything seems to go perfectly. It doesn't. It never goes perfectly. So your favorite bushcrafters who go out there and they build these amazing looking structures, you can bet they had some bad fucking days trying to pull that off. And filming it, there's a lot of times that I come out filming and I get home and the film is shit. Like, and it was blurry, or it was too shaky, or the audio was messed up because it was raining that day, or whatever. A million things can go wrong whenever you're filming and you just go home with nothing. Coming out doing a live stream and saying whatever happens, that's a whole different experience. We started it right here. And a lot of my subscribers got inspired by the live bushcraft build series, so they're starting to live stream from their camps. They're starting to live stream their builds, and that's great because it's a real-time how-to guide. It's the best perspective that you can get for being out in the wilderness and what it's like building these things. So yeah, it's catching on. The idea of live streaming from your bushcraft camp rather than going out to your camp and making this hyper edited and processed video where you're claiming that you spend a week in processing. You know how long it takes me to process a Friday night episode of Huntsman? I might go out and I film for, like this next episode, I filmed for 3 weeks and stockpiled the footage for the episode. But actually taking all of that footage, which is about 4 hours worth of footage, and condensing it down into an hour-long episode takes me about 2 or 3 hours, tops. I've never sat in the editing room on any of the Huntsman videos for more than 3 or 4 hours at a time before that thing's saving and uploading to YouTube. So there's guys out there that's saying, oh, I spent, a ridiculous amount of time editing and processing this video for you guys. They're full of shit. Either that or they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it actually did take them that long. For me, I can film, process, and upload a 1-hour video in a single day. No problem. And it's always different. You don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next. You don't know what I'm going to be doing from one episode to the next. You're not going to be seeing the same thing over and over and over again that you see everybody else doing. We just don't do that here. But anyway, guys, we'll go in here and take a look at our inner wall one more time before. I know I'm gonna have to let it sit until I start streaming tonight. We got our columns put in. We put in accent pieces, which is these here, and they'll just sit right in here, and that'll just give a different look to the top of the fireplace. Got one for each side, and then we have the bolts that go across the top mantle just to give it a little decorative feature. But working with clay like this, it's just up and dry enough to be able to hold the weight for the stone that goes on top of them. And the same process happens whenever we go to the back and I'm putting the chimney on, which is not going to be covered in the live stream series. Unless I do like the last section of it, because it's going to take days to get the chimney up. Had that little gap right there I got to get filled in yet. But bringing this in for the chimney, obviously once our columns are in there, our last piece that goes right in here and it's all sealed in dandy, then I come back here, I got this stone over here, and I just start, you know, building this closer and closer to where it eventually squares out to the chimney. So from here, like right in this section right here, that's where the chimney starts. So I run the chimney up the wall, but it can only go up a little bit at a time, and then that section's got to dry, and then I put the next section on, make sure it's nice and attached to the wall. We got a solid foundation, and run that column all the way up to the top of the build. That takes days, especially this time of year, because I'll put the first layer of stone on and block it all out where I actually have the shape of the chimney. So I got to mold this from a half round to a square, which is where this plate comes in, because I can square this off right here. I don't care about that little overhang inside of the chimney. I can just build the square right here, and then it just goes straight up. That's a long process. It's, you know, taking stone like this, filling that in, bringing it all in, packing it all with clay, and squaring it all out. And then I got to haul all of the stone up and just layer by layer block all that up all the way to the top. And then I got the challenge of going around that once I get to the top. So it's going to be a long, lengthy process. I at least got to get it up. I'm hoping 2 or 3 foot above the structure, so the smoke that comes out of the chimney ain't going to get caught by the roof. It'll go well over top of it. So that's going to be a long process doing it, and I just don't have time to live stream it. So I'm just going to get out here one morning. I'll have all of the stone and all of the clay that I need up here, and I just start building the damn thing. It'll take days and days and days to do that though, and have it stable. The other thing that we got to do is I started cutting the beams for the door. I do got to go gather up more wood for that to get the door put onto that thing, and then chink up this front top part of the A-frame, and that's it. She'll be pretty well tightened up for winter then. Once I get this here chinked up, which I'll just be putting stone in there and then covering it with clay. So where it just fills in the gap. I'll either use stone or wood as a filler piece, just so the clay has something to rest on. And then it gets filled in with clay and then topped off with all of the layers of material that you see here. The wood beam, and then the plant material, and then the bark on top of that. A lot of work, guys. A lot of work to do yet. But we are going to be cutting the live stream off here. We've been going for quite a while. I'm going to get home. I'm going to get everything recharged and reset. I'll be bringing 2 battery packs out with me later this evening. So we'll be coming out here after these 2 columns dry up. We'll try to finish off the rest of that block and then start squaring off the back part of the fireplace later on this evening. And then the top part of the mantle we'll be able to do tomorrow. I want to tighten that up a little bit more. I don't need this much of an air vent at the top, and this is just bringing lines of clay in to bring it up to, you know, however much I want to close it in. But I do want air ventilation at the top of the build, just so any smoke that does come in through the chimney, we got this nice draft going across the top beam to push that on out of the structure. And then later on tonight, we'll actually be lighting up our candles so we can see how our candle holders perform and how that light bounces off of there. Good times, guys. Good times in the build. I'm more excited about streaming tonight than I am here this morning. It's a little cool this morning. It's going to be cool tonight. It's about 50 degrees out, so it's a pretty good day for building. At least you don't get hot while you're doing all the work. But I do have to cut this stream off. I do have to get some stuff prepared for tonight's live stream, which is the second part of the finale, where we'll be closing this up a little bit more, hanging out, have us a fire going, and it's a whole new set tonight, so it'll be a different experience if you guys want to come back for it. Live stream starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So with that, guys, I'll sit down here. I'm gonna smoke one more cigarette while I'm here with you guys this morning. Now is the time. If you have any questions or comments or ideas or something that you would like to see in tonight's live stream, might bring some alcohol with us to take the chill off a little bit, maybe even something to eat. So a whole different experience tonight, a little bit more hanging out, a lot longer stream. We'll be streaming well after dark because we want to see this thing lit up after dark. So we'll be doing that. I got to pack up all the lights and all the stuff that I need. I need to gather up more clay, cut more wood, do all of that stuff before I can live stream again later on this evening. And then after tonight, that's it. Tonight's the after party, basically. It's our wrap up. Thanks to everybody that come with me this morning. There not a lot of eventfulness going on right now on the build, which is why we're closing down the live series. It's just chinking. It's a lot of clay, a lot of stone and clay. It's just repetitive. I don't want to keep filming the same damn thing over and over and over again. If I come up with something new to do out here at camp, then we'll come out here and do that. Putting the door on, that's just lashing it together and tying it on. It's where it swings in and out. I mean, that's common sense stuff. It's newbie stuff. It's Bushcraft 101 stuff. And normally we're running at Bushcraft 316 level. We don't do 101 anymore. And we outgrew that a long time ago. Which is why we can do stuff like that we're doing here now. So, you guys got anything? Anything you need to say? Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything that you want to throw my way before I finish this cigarette and close the stream down? Now's the time. Yeah, I gotta get powered up. It's been fun hanging out, but man, it's cold and I'm hungry. Been up since 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't even know what time it is now. That's about 1 o'clock, so 2-hour stream this morning, 4-hour stream tonight. Hopefully we have my regular crowd comes in this evening. I want them to at least have a little piece of it. A lot of them are at work right now. So yeah, we'll come back and hang out with our normal crowd for the live Bushcraft build series, which normally streams, 7 o'clock at night, and then we go well after dark. We do a night hike, something like that, while we're live streaming. It's always a good time hanging out in the evening rather than early in the morning. Then go home, get some lunch, switch out the gear for what I need this evening. Then I'll be back out here to do the prep work for the live stream, and then it's a hangout tonight, just wrapping this damn thing up as far as the series goes. And then I'll be doing some more work throughout the week on the build that will probably appear in Friday night's episode of Huntsman. Friday night's going to be a good episode, though. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just because we're going to do something completely different. Sometimes you got to get away from camp. You got to get away from the normal. You got to go do something just off the wall different. That's what we're going to do this Friday night. Most of that's already filmed. I still got one more section that I want to film yet, just to close. And then after that, I don't know what's going to happen with the channel. I might be taking a little bit of a break, just to get everything, as I mentioned earlier in the live stream, get everything back on the home front, all kind of settled up, and get some stability back there before we come out here and play in the woods a little bit more. Ugh. Nobody has anything to say. If you are saying anything, I ain't saying it. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close down here. I'm going to go grab lunch. And then I got to come back out and get messy again. And put in some more work before tonight's longer live stream. This is was sort of like an introduction to it, and to let everybody that doesn't or can't join in on those later streams, you know, take a look at the build here on the live, and sort of get some sort of experience before the series shuts down. Once again, this ain't going to be my last live bushcraft build series. We'll be doing other bushcraft build series with different types of structures, different types of camps, and different locations. As the channel develops, you know, I'll probably be doing one build a year. I don't want to overwhelm everybody with just build. I see a lot of guys out there building right now, and they don't actually have the time to just stop and enjoy the fucking build, and I want to do that. So we'll spend a good amount of time working on a build, and then we'll actually sit down and enjoy some time at the build. You know, cook us up some food, do some overnighters, and basically just use what we built, not just throw it up and then go throw something else up. I don't want to do it like that. So we got one hell of a structure here, guys. She is a beaut. And I want to have time to enjoy it. I want to be able to come out here and enjoy it and not have to worry about filming. I just want to come out and enjoy the build. So a lot of times I'll be out here with no filming gear. I won't be focused on making a YouTube video, and that's probably when something fucking epic will happen, and I wish I had a camera. But I don't want to be that guy who just comes out to the woods to make YouTube videos. And I sort of been feeling like that a little bit lately. Like, I'm more worried about what am I going to put out next Friday, or when am I going to do my next live stream, than just coming out to the woods just for the sole purpose of being out in the woods. So that's my primary reason where I just want to step back, because I don't want to be a YouTuber. I'm an outdoorsman, not a YouTuber. I don't make no money off of YouTube. I don't make shit off of YouTube. I ain't trying to make shit off of YouTube. I'm not going to try to claim this as a business. I'm not going to say that because I'm a YouTuber, I'm self-employed. Nah. Nope. Never going to be me. And whenever I start thinking about what am I going to do for YouTube more than I want to go play in the woods, I need to step back and get my perspective right, because that's not me. I'm not going to let YouTube videos and YouTube channels and all this other shit become a stressor. Sure as hell ain't going to turn it into a job. When it starts becoming a job, it stops being fun. And I just don't want to deal with all that shit. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap the stream up here. Thank you guys for coming with me. If you haven't yet, please hit that thumbs up. Share it out. Let everybody know that we're going to be live streaming again this evening, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If y'all want to come back, we usually kick the stream off about 10 minutes early, get everybody time to get notifications, and then I get everything set up and all that blah blah blah, and then the shit is on. Do a little bit more tonight on the build, hang out with everybody a little bit, have some fire going, probably going to eat out here tonight, and depending on how late the stream goes, probably going to be doing an overnighter at the camp tonight, which is not my first overnighter at the camp. I just don't film it. We live stream for 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes I don't feel like hiking out. I just crash at the camp and hike out the next morning. Not a long hike anyway. It's just, I built the damn thing, I might as well sleep in it, right? Alright, so wrapping it up, guys. Thanks for coming with me. Tune in tonight at 7. We'll progress on the build a little bit more. and be wrapping up the 2-part finale of the live bushcraft build series later on tonight. So I will see you guys then.